Hi, welcome back to the Enchanted Booklands. My name is Renee, and today I'm going to be talking about some of my favorite books again, as per usual. So today I'm going to be recommending books to you based off your favorite Sarah J Maas book series. I did want to do individual books, but decided it would just be about the same recommendations, so might as well just do it for the entire series. So these are her main series, so Akatar, Crescent City, and Throne of Glass. Alright, first up is going to be Throne of Glass. I'm going to be talking about these in the order that these series came out. So Throne of Glass was the first one that came out, and I think this is probably a lot of people's favorites since it was the first, and how it came to be and everything. I read it first as well, but I didn't read Sarah J Maas until way after, like, most of the books were published. I think only, like, the last book wasn't out when I started reading Throne of Glass. So, not like a legacy fan or anything, but I definitely love Sarah J Maas. She's one of my favorite authors. I love her fantasy romance. Like, she is so, like, she's just, I just love her romance. Of course, there's always issues with every, like, book that's out there, but we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the positives. So, Throne of Glass, if you don't know, which I'm pretty sure you know since you clicked on this video, well, it's an assassin who is basically given a second chance after she is enslaved to earn her freedom. And she has to compete in a tournament and win, and then on goes the series from there after the first book concludes. There's also a bit of like a thriller like aspect to this book because we have people dying that are in the tournament that aren't being killed. Like, it's not like it's the Hunger Games or anything, but everyone's just dropping dead. So yeah, there's a little bit of a mystery to it, and betrayal at the end. I mean, it's great. I love it. So if you love Throne of Glass, I'm gonna recommend to you to read Poison Study. Poison Study is actually not well known. I know some people love it, and if they love it, they like binge read all the books. And I just feel like it was a small book that came out many years ago, around the same time that Throne of Glass, actually. Maybe it was actually before Throne of Glass, I think. But it similar setup and everything. So when we start out with, I think her name was Yelena, I think. She is in a dungeon. She is supposed to be getting executed, and she's waiting to be executed, basically. So what actually ends up happening is the poison taster has just died, and the poison taster has to be someone who's basically condemned to death, that is willing to do that instead of just, you know, go get your head chopped off, I guess. And then there's a little bit of romance in there. It's very good. It definitely similar to what's going on in Throne of Glass, but also very different. Yelena also has realizing that she has magic, and magic is outlawed in this country. It's not like in Throne of Glass where magic just disappeared. It's actually like you can't use it, and if you use it, you'll die. Basically, she's hiding this magic, and meanwhile, the person she answers to for her poison tasting studies and learning to taste all these poisons is the one who would send her to death, probably. So another book that you might like if you love Throne of Glass is called Nevernight. So I also own this digitally, so I'll insert a picture of the cover. So Nevernight follows an assassin. In this one, she the main character is trying to go to the school for assassins, and there is romance in it, kind of a tragic one, so not like a super happy ending. Is the only thing I would put in here, but it's excellently written. I literally was reading this book and I was like, this cannot get any better. Like, this writing cannot improve, and that's coming from someone who writes. So it was just like, oh, this is so good, this is perfect. It is a trilogy, so all 3 books are out, so if you want to binge read it, you can. I've only read the first one, but it's like I'm afraid to finish things, so one day I will finish reading the series, but I heard nothing but good things. Alright, so we have Court of Thorns Roses up next. So with Court of Thorn and Roses, I actually own the books I'm going to recommend to you in physical copy, so that's good. Instead of inserting images, I can actually show you the book. So Court of Thorn and Roses follows Feyre, who accidentally kills a fairy, and the fairy's lord comes and takes her to the world of the fairies, so she's going to have to live there forever since she killed this dude. Really what's going on is there's a curse, and they need her to fall in love with the Lord, Tamlin, who comes to take her back. And she doesn't know any of this because they're not allowed to talk about it as part of the curse. So she ends up falling in love with him and everything. It has very cute romance. If you like Twilight as well, this is also kind of got that feel to it. It does turn a little rough in book 2, and book 2, oh my god, my favorite book ever. So these recommendations were recommended to me, so I'm excited to share those recommendations because they were good recommendations, and I truly found more favorite books than I did have before. So on to the book recs. Alright, so if A Court of Thorns and Roses is your favorite Sarah J Maas series like it is for me, then these are the books that I would recommend to you based off what you like and that you like what's going on in this book. So the first book I want to recommend, I liked way more than the second recommendation. So the first one is going to be The Falconer. So this follows a girl who kills fairies that are trying to kill humans. So basically she's Buffy, but for fairies. There's romance in here between the guy who's training her basically on how to kill these fairies, and they end up falling in love. It's very cute. I really love it. And if you like Regency books, like romances and stuff, I think you'll also like this because it kind of has that Regency feel, but it takes place in 1844. I knew it was the 1800s. So it takes place in 1844. So it's kind of like a weird like Victorian era, but like also you have a steampunk going on in here. So there's a lot of like cool like inventions and stuff she makes to kind of kill fairies with. And yeah, I really love this book. It's one of my favorites. And I definitely recommend it if you love fairies and you love ACOTAR. Alright, so the next book that I'm going to recommend to you if you love A Court of Thorns and Roses is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I'm pretty sure most people have read this if you are a fan of fairies. We got a whole another land. It's like a portal fantasy kind of. You basically go to fairy, and from there you try not to die, basically. If you are someone who likes the traditional like fairy lore, I would recommend this one as well. I personally love Sarah J Maas's way of fairies and stuff. I'm not a huge like more traditional because I've read it too many times. I think that I actually like different. I like different stuff going on with fairies. Yes, I love fairies and I like love their characteristics and things like that. But I like different rules to apply in different books. I don't want the same rules to apply every single book. So if you like more of the traditional fairies, this is what I recommend. Holly Black is obviously the queen of fairies, so she's really good with her fairies. So in The Cruel Prince, we follow Jude, who is a human who grew up in fairy after her father, or her stepfather, killed her mother and her birth father. So he killed them, but then was like, well, because I killed them, I'm gonna raise y'all. So he took them home and was raised by this fairy general guy. Anyways, she's kind of a badass, but she kind of drives me nuts. I'm not a huge Jude fan, but if you like the whole enemies to lovers, you'll also like this book. All right, so if you're a fan of Crescent City, or A House of Earth and Blood, as the actual title is, then I think that you're going to like books that are similar in feel and have a little bit of romance in them. So Crescent City follows Bryce, who is part of the Earth and Blood house. So like it's kind of like tribes, I feel like, but they're all divided into houses. So this is the house that she's part of, and she ends up kind of falling for an angel, and he's like, I think he's a slave. Anyways, it's got some mystery in it, which I really enjoyed. But I'm just gonna recommend some books that have similar feels. Now these are gonna be adult recommendations, but they're going to be long. So that would be my own caveat, is for any book to have a lot going on like this book does, it has to be long. So that's my thing. I mean, it's fantasy. You're probably used to it by now. I personally love fantasy books that are long, sometimes, depending if I really like them, because I don't like them to end. But sometimes books are like super long. You're like, I do not have time for 1,000 pages. But yeah, both books I'm going to recommend to you are around the 1,000-page mark, and one is actually over, I believe. So if you are a big fan of Crescent City, then I would recommend 2 books to you. One being the Stormlight Archive, so that's an entire series, but this is the Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. Now, I would say that Brandon Sanderson doesn't have a whole lot of romance going on in here, but it's a very good book, and it's worth a read if you like epic fantasy. Also, if you kind of are a fan of The Wheel of Time, then I would check this out. But basically, this is followed multiple characters. I'm not going to really go into the summary, but I am going to link all the books below. So if you want to check it out, just check out that link, and you should be good to go if you want to go ahead and buy it. So the last book that I want to recommend to you for Crescent City fans is going to be The City of Brass. I'm actually halfway through this book, actually over halfway. And I think anybody who likes Sarah J Maas will like this book. It's got like some romance going on in it. It's got the epic feel of Crescent City. You got some characters that are learning of abilities and getting taken to a new place. The typical fantasy, in my opinion, kind of almost chosen one trope, which is similar to Crescent City. So I think that if you like Crescent City, that you would like The City of Brass. So you should definitely check it out. Again, I will link all the books that we just discussed in the description below. And if you like what you read about them, then, go ahead and get them. And then if you had any recommendations for me based off of these books, I would love to hear them, because I love Sarah J Maas, and I'm always looking for war books that are similar in feel, in taste, and romance, obviously. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!